Well, I hope you guys are having a good Memorial weekend, wherever you may be. This next coming up week, we start on Tuesday, so it would be a shorter week. I'm going to go ahead and post this assignment at our normal time. We will be meeting on our normal scheduled Thursday day for our live class. If you have any questions about this week's topic, which is interviewing or the art of interviewing. This is probably one of the most scary to me parts of doing news articles or reporting or research, because I'm actually in a graduate course and I have to do this, and I'm still very intimidated by it myself. So I'm 50 plus years old. You guys are just kids, and some of you may find this scary or uncomfortable to do. But with today's world, it's actually much easier to do this because we don't actually have to pick up a telephone or go to someone's office and interview them in person. With the technology tools that we have today, such as social media and video recording such as this, using Meet or Zoom or whatever, you can actually hold an interview and not actually meet the person face-to-face or live. Cold calling is the term that we use for calling someone you don't know or interviewing someone you don't know. And news reporters have to do this quite often because news stories can come from anywhere in any part of society or the world, and we might not be in those circles of people. So, for this, term in our main final project, you're probably going to be interviewing someone you know, but some of you may choose to interview people that you don't know, and this might come in handy. And even if you are interviewing someone you know already, the tips that we're going to go over that kind of might help you interview them. So let's start by the assignment this week. And there's 5 tips that are given by the PBS curriculum for helping people interview. Number 1 is get your expertise on. Before you talk, as they say here, before you talk to a journalist, make sure you can talk like an expert, gather facts, basically know the story you're reporting on. Do a little background research so you kind of understand, and you can, especially the person you're interviewing might have more questions to you to try to clarify what the question is. So you have to kind of know a little bit about what you're asking. Number 2 is jargon. They're saying here, even though you're the expert, you want your message to get across, you need to be able to explain it in a way that doesn't confuse the person being interviewed. They might not actually be an interview or an expert in the field. For example, you might be talking to someone about the COVID virus, and they don't know, they're not a doctor, they don't know anything about it. So if you're going to ask their opinion, make sure you don't use any special words that they might not be aware of, okay? But you can still use those words if you clarify them. Like if you use a word, or an acronym, like in technology, if we say a NAS, do you ever use a NAS in your home network? You guys are going like, well, what's a NAS? A NAS, an NAS, is a device that you can back up your files to. So by explaining what something is, if you want to use an acronym, that's perfectly fine. Number 3, stay calm and confident. This is where having technology kind of comes to help you on your side, because you can draft a message, you can record, just like I'm doing now, record an interview question that you can send to someone, like an actual recording. And if you make a mistake, either writing it or like I'm doing now, speaking it, you can delete it and start over again. So it's a lot easier to do that, to stay confident. Because if you make a mistake, you can always go back and change it and fix it. If you're doing this live, this is where it's a little more tricky. And I would suggest practice. Practice it in front of a mirror, asking the questions. Practice asking your little brother or sister or another family member. Just practice. By doing that, you will become more self-confident when you actually have to do it for real. Number 4, use vivid examples. Make your ideas come alive by offering examples, specific information. Once again, this has to do with doing research before you actually go out and interview someone. When you're comfortable, you know a little bit about the background of the story, and someone you may be interviewing may want clarification. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what are you talking about exactly? Your question may be too general, and by having more specifics, you can help the person you are interviewing come up with the answers. Okay, so once again, it's just knowing the background of your story before you go into it. Number 5, short and sweet. I'm actually, if you're making a video, I don't want it to be more than 1 to 2 minutes, 3 at the maximum. If you're doing a write-up, it shouldn't be more than 3 paragraphs. If you do something too long, and this includes the interviewing process. Me, for example, I'm doing a research and I have to interview people. I'm only coming up with 5 questions. I have a list of 20 questions, but I'm not going to use all 20. I'm just going to use 5 of the best questions that I came up with. Because there's something called fatigue and our interview fatigue. If you ask someone question after question after question after question, they're going to get tired. They don't want to sit there and answer all these questions, So come up with a few, 3 to 5 really good questions. Keep it sweet, keep it simple, keep it short, okay? And people will they'll participate better and they'll have a better time of it, okay? Now, the questions or the assignment for the week is there's 3 questions. I want you to think about what tools you may use, like Twitter. Like, I have a big following on Twitter. I think, and I've done this in the past where I want to interview someone or I want to send them a congratulations about something, or maybe they wrote a really good article and I want to say, oh, that was a great article. This is kind of the same thing as interviewing someone in a way, I guess. I went and researched. I would find out who that person is. I would research them on social media that you have access to. I don't know what you have. There's 1,000 different social media platforms. But let's use Twitter, for example, or Instagram. You go and you find, do they have an account, right? And if they have a web bio, like a page about them on the internet, usually it'll list what their social media accounts are. You can just go there and find them that way. And so what you can do is just do a little research on the person you want to interview, right? Find out, do they have social media? Do they have an email address somewhere, right? I mean, they might even have a phone number if you want to get brave and call them. It might be very difficult to actually get a hold of someone, but social media is a great way to do it, or email. Then what I want you to do is think about the drawbacks and benefits of all of these. For example, if you're doing an email, or if you're actually typing out a message on digitally, either social media or email, the benefit is the person you're interviewing, they can take their time to answer you, right? If you are calling them or you're setting up, trying to arrange a time where you actually are going to meet face to face or on a telephone, that might be difficult, or even on like a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting, that might be difficult to do because arranging times in their schedules is difficult. However, the benefit to that, a live conference, would be you might be able to ask clarifying questions where you can't do that in an email or social media. So there's pros and cons to both. You can reuse those examples that I just gave, the pro and cons, or you might even think of something else that I didn't. So that's what I'm asking in number 2. Number 3 is I want you to think about a person, and I give an example, a water quality expert in your area. Or you can think of something else, maybe a medical doctor in your area if you're going to talk about COVID, or you can come up with any expert you want, but it has to be a true real life expert. You can pick any topic you want: COVID, water quality, like the example I give in the document. You could just use that if you want. It could be an education expert. It could be, if talking about COVID policy, it might be a doctor, it might be the president of your country. It doesn't actually, you're not really going to send them a message. Just come up with someone just for pretend. However, thinking about the final project, which is coming up in 2 weeks, you might want to think about, is there an expert you might want to ask for your final project? And if there is, try and do some for this project this week. Try and research. Can you actually get a hold of a real life expert? You don't actually have to communicate with them now, but find out who they are, who they might be, and then come up with a message you would write them. Okay? And if you're planning on calling them, which I doubt you will do, you can come up with questions you might want to ask them in person. Either way, it's up to you. It's very general. I'm going to grade you easy on it, but I want you to try to do a good job. And that's really going to be it for the assignment this week. So that's really about it. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me. You can set up a time where we can meet and I could video conference with you and we can clarify it. But that's really it for the week. Once again, you only got, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday before we meet live. If you have any questions, this assignment is due on Sunday. Like I said, besides that, have a good Memorial weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Keep out of trouble.